why they're fighting or what all of it means. Joining us today is Rabbi Shai Finkelstein from Baron Hirsch and also Andy Groveman from Memphis Jewish School to help give us some personal perspective on what's going on in the Middle East. We appreciate you both being here today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bo.
Rabbi, I want to start with you. Can you give us a little bit of background on why this fighting is going on in the first place?
You know, Israel did everything that Israel can do in order to push the peace process, to move it forward, and really to try to create harmony and peace in that region. In 2005, we withdrew from Gaza and from the entire region and gave it to Abu Mazen, to the Fatah, to really control it and to really make it a prosperous place. Nevertheless, there was elections, Hamas took over, and really Hamas is a terror organization backed by Iran, and their mission is to destroy the state of Israel, unfortunately. And what's happened since 2005, they sent more than 7,000 rockets on Sderot, Ashkelon, Be'er Sheva, the entire southern region of the state of Israel. And Israel did not retaliate, did not fire back, and tried everything that Israel can do in order to really keep a ceasefire or somewhat of a tranquil situation. The problem was that it escalated to such a situation that Israel have the right for self-defense, and really that's the right for every country to defend their civilians, and that's really the background for this entire situation.
And you brought up civilians, and this is something that I think the United States can really relate to, because we as a country are fighting terrorists too, and oftentimes civilians are the ones who lose their lives, which is what's happening in the Middle East right now as well.
Right, it's most unfortunate, and I know that the Israel Defense Force and the State of Israel feel very bad about the fact that there are civilians who are losing their lives as a result of Iran-backed terrorist Hamas taking and starting a war with Israel. So I think Israel is doing everything that they can to minimize the amount of casualties within Gaza, unlike what Hamas is doing when they fire the rockets into Israel, because they are targeting civilians within Israel, whereas the Israel Defense Force are taking every action that they can possibly take to try to minimize casualties to the civilian population. As an example, they actually drop leaflets, tens of thousands of leaflets, to the local population within Gaza to let them know that they're going to be taking an action in a particular area and that they should either move away or stay in their homes.
Now, Rabbi, you're originally from Israel. It must really tug at your heartstrings to see your country going through this process. What goes through your mind when you see the images on television?
It's a very hard thing to see from here, from Memphis, knowing my family is involved in the army, and knowing the pain that the civilians in Sderot and in Ashkelon and in Be'er Sheva needs to go through every day. There are some children that were born to this tragedy. They cannot go to sleep, they cannot go to school, they cannot go and play in their backyard like what every other child wants to do. And it's unfortunate that, you know, the Palestinians can have a bright future. And it's very unfortunate that Hamas is really preventing them from having really better life. So it's very hard, a lot of mixed emotions. You want to be there and you're very worried about my own family there too. But nevertheless, Israel is doing the right thing. They have the right for self-defense, and that's what every other country will do.
And many Israelis would say this is not a fight against Palestinians per se, it's a fight against the terrorist group.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I know that you had mentioned that you have visited this city, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I've had to practice this. Sderot?
Sderot, right.
Okay, where many of these missiles are aimed. What has been your experience there?
I think the thing that really got my attention as we were driving into Sderot, we went to go visit some schools, and as you go into town, they have bomb shelters that are on every street corner, just makeshift bomb shelters. And the reason they have these bomb shelters is that the population there has 15 seconds in order from the time that they hear an alarm until the time a rocket hits. So the population, if they're walking along the street, has to find one of these bomb shelters. We then went to a school, and can you imagine having a school where they built a concrete umbrella over a portion of the school so that the children could just stay within those confines?
Oh, no, I can't.
And it's just a terrible, terrible thing to have to live under. The teachers who teach at the school have got to take a break so that they could get some relief from the stress in dealing with all these rocket attacks and the alarms and dealing with the children.
Unbelievable. What is it going to take to stop this? I mean, is there an easy answer for that, or is this fighting going to continue? Or are we going to continue to cover this week in and week out?
It's a very good question. It's a very complicated situation. Israel must accomplish their goals. That means that Hamas will stop arming themselves, B, they will stop shooting rockets, and C, there is going to be this international excommunication of Hamas and trying to build the moderates in that region. Israel will not be able to tolerate anymore those missiles every day. Like Andy said, it's terrorizing our children, our adults, our men and women, and it's just not something that the country can live on like that. So if Hamas will agree, and they, by the way, rejected the Egyptian, France, America suggestion for a ceasefire, they rejected it, and it's unfortunate again. Israel will need to accomplish those goals, and after that we can hope and pray that the moderates will rise up and stand up and say, no more, let's live together.
You know, you hear so many times that, I think we're talking mostly about the Taliban of recently in the news, where, you know, you can hold terrorists down, but they continue to rebuild, and it's a constant fight. Is that going to be the same situation as well?
Look, I think since 9/11, the world has come to know that there are no more conventional wars.
Right.
That this is an ideological war in many respects against terrorism and terrorists. So the United States has taken that war on many fronts, and I think rightfully so. And I think the rest of the world, the European Union, the more moderate states within the Arab world, have seen that ideologically they are at risk just like Israel is at risk. So I think Israel, along with the rest of the more moderate countries around the world, are going to continue to fight terrorists, and the outcomes are going to need to be managed. And I don't know that there are going to be any clear winners or losers in this war against terrorism, but I think the more that we can defer and the more that we can take the teeth out of the tiger, the better off the world is going to be to allow more rational, sane leadership to emerge within these states.
Well, gentlemen, we're out of time. We could go on about this all day with questions and answers. We appreciate you coming on the broadcast, though, today and offering us some perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bonnie.
And we will have